Hello and welcome to So Farscape,
a fun-filled Farscape fancast by a fervent fan
and a fresh-faced first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay, and this is the Story So Farscape.
Almost. So, the Story So Farscape is about an American astronaut.
John Crichton. John
Crichton.
Crichton, yes.
Well, no, like his name is Crichton, not Crichton. It's a different name. And then Crichton is the fun nickname.
Okay.
Have you missed it this entire... Like, no, I thought you were maybe doing it on purpose.
I'm terrible with names, you know that.
Okay, but it sounds like you actually know his name. You're just saying it weird.
Crichton, rather than Crichton. Okay. Yeah.
Well, do you know like the writer, Michael Crichton?
Oh. I don't think I've read any of his books.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, Jurassic Park, Andromeda Strain, I think was one of his. Like, he was a medical doctor and a climate change denier.
Okay.
So,
well, just shows that you get all kinds.
Hey, what do you call the robot from Red Dwarf?
No, wait. I want to say Holly, but that's not. That's the.
No, that's a shipboard computer. Yeah, exactly.
The robot. Oh, Crichton? No.
It's Kryten. How do you make Crichton out of...
I couldn't remember. I just knew it started with a KR.
I thought I'd give you a little mnemonic, but apparently that
doesn't help.
Well, I got your back, buddy.
Okay, so him and Zhaan and Tentacles and Earbrows are all on the ship, the living ship, Moya,
very good,
along with Pilot, who's we must not forget, and they're looking for. Ostensibly looking for a way home.
Yes. I mean, they are the only ones looking for a way home because Aeryn, Sun, the escaped and banished peacekeeper, she knows where her home is.
Yes, and she knows she can't go there.
So we've joked several times that, they didn't seem to, especially Crichton, doesn't really seem to be trying to get home a lot.
No.
You have star charts.
And that finally changes.
It does. And apparently not just him alone. So I was very curious while watching this. In the original TV airing order, when did this episode come along?
You know, we're actually kind of on track again. Because it was just mostly the first 5 that were ordered or that were aired really weird out of order. And then we had Thank God It's Friday again with the forced labor, mind control, PK Tech Girl, that old black magic that we did last week, and now DNA Mad Scientist. So so it was just the a case, I guess, where the network didn't have confidence in the early episodes and decided to put a more action heavy one.
Ka-tow, ka-tow, ka-tow. Little bolts of light.
First. In fact, the very first episode of Farscape that aired was PK Tech Girl. It was a special preview before the show started properly to get people horny for the show.
Because I would have imagined that this episode would have done quite well earlier on in the series. Because there was a lot of stuff going on which I thought was rather out of character for a lot of the main characters.
You know, that's an interesting thought. I mean, this would have worked well as a second episode.
Or a third episode, or just something where the personal relationship between the different characters hadn't been properly established yet.
We're stuck together. And as long as we are, we might as well be...
What? Family? Friends? I want neither.
There is a certain possibility there. I mean, it was directed by Andrew Prowse, who also did the first episode. A bunch of other ones since then. But he came back for this was his second episode.
Okay,
and it might as well have been a continuation.
It kind of felt like it.
Yeah. So this is the 9th episode. It's called DNA Mad Scientist, written by Tom Blomquist. Not a name I think we've seen before or since.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Does it?
Yeah, maybe some other things.
No, it was a one-hit wonder.
Okay.
Only did this episode and didn't come back versus Prowse, who did 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got about 20 episodes in my little database here.
Damn.
Got a handy little database.
Yeah.
And it aired on Friday, June 18th, 1999.
Yes. And another thing, as we zoom back in our far back machine.
Yes, our far back module. Yeah.
Another TV series which aired around the same time was a famous spin-off series from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It
Angel.
Was Angel aired around this very same time as a completely different type of series.
Well,
I mean, also leaning a lot on personal interactions between various characters, I suppose.
And it was a wild and wondrous and sort of alienating world.
Vampires,
there were a lot of other fun creatures as well.
Yeah, true. Demons, anything coming from the nether depths of wherever hell.
Such as lawyers.
Right.
Yeah, there was. The major villain was Wolfram and Hart.
That's more of an outpost. It's like they're pretty much half in there in hell anyway, so it must be easier. Kind of like it's kind of like you see in Constantine when they when he grabs a cat and the guy's like, oh, they're half in.
Good. Yes, half in, half out.
Half in, half out. Yes.
Oh, Angel was great. Like, it was a very exciting time. I mean, I was a huge Buffy fan as a young man.
Were you a buffer?
I don't think that's what.
No?
Is that what they're called?
I don't know. I just made that up, so I really doubt it if it was.
I mean, Fanscaper sounds like a personal activity, as does buffing. Well, I've done a fair bit of buffering over the years, so maybe it's not unfair. But yeah, he was her immortal love and star-crossed love, and he was a vampire in there, and they were never meant to meet. And he went off to Los Angeles to fight for his soul.
It's before Twilight was cool, I suppose. It's like that whole thing.
Yes.
Well, I mean, okay, Twilight was never cool, but I mean, it was popular for a bit.
Do you know, there were some aspects that I really liked about that first film, and that is, like, the interpersonal, like, the examination of the relationship between the hero, what was her name, like Bellatrix,
or something, yeah,
and her dad, and their utter failure to communicate their love for each other. They clearly do feel, but so they just alienate each other voluntarily, even though they clearly care for each other. And like her friends as well. They're teenagers desperately in need of connection and wanting to express themselves, but they do it through this filter of sarcasm and pretense because they're also insecure.
I guess that was the thing back then.
Like, it's a great character study for probably a total of about 16 minutes, because
then there's old, yes.
Yeah, the rest is all vampire and romance shit that I just really wasn't into, because Buffy was way better at the vampire and romance.
I can imagine that. Yes,
you can tweet me at SoFarscape and we'll argue this out. It's totally, it's totally fine. Oh, I remember how exciting that was, because when it came out, they were airing in the same week, so you'd have a Buffy episode and an Angel episode, and sometimes there would be like crossover topics, or Willow would say in an episode of Buffy, "Oh, I'm going over to Los Angeles." How do you like my Willow impersonation that I was doing there? Sorry,
it was all right. I mean, I almost expect a reference to Bandcamp or something.
Willow Rosenberg. Oh God, yes, that was Alison Hannigan, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And then relationships deteriorated between the channels on which those shows were airing.
They were airing on different channels. Interesting.
Yeah, I think there was a split off or something. That
seems weird that a franchise like that would get split up over different broadcasting channels. You'd
Not
think that.
Quite sure how that went. Maybe if we ever do in 6 or 7 years a program about that era of Buffy, I'll do some research and catch you up on that.
I wouldn't be able to watch it quite as fresh-faced, since I think I've seen the first 2 seasons of Buffy, but...
Heretic.
It's been a long time. What?
I don't know. I mean, the second was so good. How could you stop after that?
I don't know. It just didn't click
into
it.
No, it didn't click you. Yeah, I get it. But how's Farscape treating you so far?
I'm loving it. It's definitely. Although, we'll get to that later about this episode.
Okay.
We kind of already touched a little bit on that, since we were talking about the interactions between the various characters, which I would have thought was more appropriate for an earlier on episode. But we will extensively get to this point later on as we're discussing this episode.
Let's get cracking.
Prepare to starburst!
So, the show opens with a gorgeous shot of Moya drifting through an asteroid field or something.
They're
or at least
all so gorgeous.
Although it's much... I noticed that they didn't go with the amber light filter this time, and it's all more black and green out there now.
She's blue, da-ba-dee-da-ba-dow. Yeah. No, it's a huge break. But yeah, so we see this asteroid that she's orbiting a lot, because... Other than that, like, there's not a lot of CGI in this episode. Like, it's in one location.
Yeah, a few obvious studio places, and
so no exterior shots. You have a bit of Rygel floating around, because hey, I learned about how they did the sort of CGI budget.
Yeah.
So lots of these directors hadn't had a lot of experience doing big CGI things. It was Australia, where they didn't do a lot of genre. And so it was sort of explained to them, like, you get basically casino chips. you get this many for an episode, and you can get like lots of little ones or a few big ones. And like little ones are like laser blasts, where the camera is standing still, or like a bigger one is like isolating a character, or a huge space battle. Would
that would be an enormous one. Yes, and
so you can have like
budget a little bit, to see what they can do. Okay, because I've noticed they haven't been using much or any repeated stock footage like you would see back in the Battlestar Galactica days, where they kept using the same few scenes of Vipers from the original movies.
Yes, and occasional flip them.
Yeah, and that's like, this time they bend to the left, and next time they're going to go to the right, and then the Cylon's going to get shot apart just before the Viper flies through the cloud, and it's like you could dream those shots after a while. It's like,
I literally can.
Yes.
And also why all the Vipers. None of the Vipers have any distinguishing markings. They all look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Funny that.
No tail numbers or anything like that.
Yeah. So, we have, it's really ominous. We've got all these deep shadows, which we haven't really seen before. Like it's a cool looking asteroid. It's all blue, and it's got a sort of atmosphere around. It's got these clouds of vapor.
It looked a bit like organic to me, to be honest.
Yeah, right? That's appropriate because... I don't know if you can see it on we've got little screenshots that we use to remind ourselves. I don't think you can see it on here, but there is a huge ass skeleton in the asteroid. We'll see it again later, I'm sure.
I didn't quite notice that. No. We do, however, then cut to a scene where John is getting stabbed in the eye.
Cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye.
Wow, that looked so disturbing.
I guess that took a few of those credit shits to make that look believable and not.
Yeah, right. Like the needle actually sort of and it sort of dimples his eye, and his eyelid sort of twitches a little bit.
Yeah, that must have taken some effort to take that shot. And what we have basically is Dr. Space Alien, the Grey Goblin, who is like taking apparently a DNA sample from the eye.
Yeah. This is what I think of when I think of Farscape creature design. I think of NamTar.
Yeah.
Like this huge hulking dude on roo boots with gigantic hands, probably for balance, an enormous head.
This was the planet of the giant hands because like everybody here had huge hands.
To be fair, I think I would have been more impressed if they'd used prosthetics to make someone's hands smaller. Well, that's more difficult.
That's a lot more difficult, yes.
So I can sort of understand. But yeah, he's like, look at this guy. So he's got an elongated sort of muzzle on the front side.
It's a bit like he's got like these mandible things which almost make him look like he's got a goatee and these huge ears sticking out the back, and he's got
with fleshy membranes,
bit of a gem-like protrusion on his forehead.
Yeah,
and he's actually quite handsome,
right? Sort of like Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Right,
is kind of a hunky, like in the way that like a lion is beautiful and a leopard is a gorgeous creature.
Right, but this guy's a little bit more, bold and grey-green.
Yeah, but he's got like that intensity to his eyes, and even though the skin is modeled, and that sort of gem dome that you see on the top of his head. See, what I think, that is the performer's actual head, and they sort of modeled a head like the rest of the skull is much lower, it's much more slanted.
Could be. Yeah.
But they needed some space for his
to put his forehead in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because his whole face is animatronic.
Ah, yes, of course.
See,
you noticed that quite well. I won't say that you notice it obviously that he is the audio is being put in post, but
but we're used to Rygel, so
right. Yes, there's a little bit of lip syncing issues going. It's not even lip syncing issues. It's just like when he's speaking and like he's making a plosive sound like the P, you can just tell that lips
the
like
lips
that
aren't closing.
Cannot
exactly.
make that sound like that.
Yeah. But other than that, like I thought the body language. I know we're on the second shot of the show,
yes.
but we're totally obsessing over NamTar.
Well, I mean, like he is a very important character, and we mustn't forget his space nipple clamps.
Yes.
Didn't we meet at a party a few years back?
He's wearing a very cute outfit, I must say.
I liked it too. I actually have a note to propose that this episode be called In the Kink of an Eye.
Very good. Yes.
Thank you. Actually, I had a note before that with another proposal for the name, because it is Andrew Prowse's second episode, and his first one was the pilot episode.
Yeah.
The pilot episode was called Premiere. It was also called Through the Eye of a Needle.
Yeah.
And now this one can be called Needle Through the Eye.
Ah, yes.
Part 2.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, well... I'll just leave the naming to the experts.
But yes, Dr. NamTar is collecting DNA material from our intrepid heroes.
Yeah, and Crichton complains, like, couldn't you take, like, a nail clipping or something?
Oh, if I was limiting myself to the double helix, then it's...
I thought that was so cool.
Like, okay, so... I mean, are there other properties to the DNA? Although, interestingly enough, apparently other aliens also have DNA.
There's no way my DNA is inside those things.
Apparently it works on a similar basis, or
yeah,
I could have thought that DNA would be a Earth thing, and that like other species have different ways. I mean, unless we all come from some galactic source, you know.
But if I can analyze its DNA, perhaps we can understand why it's here.
So DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, which is a particular amino acid, which is a particular like organic compound, and like I don't think there's any reason to believe why everyone in the universe would have the same chemical foundation. So maybe this is the Babel bugs at work.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Maybe they're talking about like the molecular blueprint and enzyme factory from which your bodies are made.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Which in humans is DNA, but in somebody else's case might be. And maybe, maybe Crichton doesn't know the chemical composition. He just knows the word DNA. And then the Babel bugs sort of hunt through his memory and go, oh, there's one.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah,
yes.
That's close enough.
And apparently there's a little bit of quibbling over who's going to be next because
Dargo, he's a scaredy cat.
He's a bit of a pussy, yes.
Yeah.
You go next.
Aeryn, like she said, park it in the seat because she's not going.
No,
at all.
And we soon find out why, because NamTar is using this DNA to apparently trace their origin, because he's like got a database of like 11 million species.
11 million species.
My genetic database holds information on nearly 11 million species.
11 million?
And he can use that to see
Pinpoint their
which
point of
species
origin?
they are and then find their point of origin, which seems a bit peculiar to me. It
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
No, let's get into that. How does it work?
Yeah.
Like, so you get somebody's DNA. How does that tell you where they're from? Like, only if you can compare that to DNA from someone,
Other people who
where
have
you
been-
already
exactly,
know where
yes.
they're from.
And then you would think like you just ask them what species they are, and then just like tell them like that's where you're from.
Yeah.
You don't really need to do the extra step of comparing their DNA, unless we're talking about DNA drift or other things. Well, there's actually a little point later on in the episode,
right?
Where it's mentioned that this would be a very powerful weapon. So,
Yeah.
and which to me suggests that nobody has any real idea where anybody else is from, or at least only if they've personally encountered them. There's no big databases or other like chart maps like this area belongs to him and that area belongs to them. You know, like this Rygel and his 60 billion subjects.
600 billion subjects.
Right, that's the one. And what was...
No, I think you're right there. So they only travelled into the uncharted territories for a few weeks, and they already met someone from a polity of 10,000 planets who had never heard of the Hynerian Empire or vice versa.
The Hynerian Empire is not familiar to me.
Yeah? Well, I never heard of the consortium of Prowse.
The imperfection is yours.
So apparently, like these huge empires are not very far apart, or maybe they can like overlap, like
right.
You know, the sort of mental exercise, like, okay, the closest star to Earth is 4.5 light years. Okay, cool. So how many stars do you think are within 100 light years?
Yes.
And people go, 12, 20? No, probably 12. And you go, like, 10 to 30,000.
Yes, because they're all about 4 or 5 light years apart on average.
Yeah, and it's a spherical volume with a radius of 100.
No, I get it.
That's a lot.
Yep. So, first one to go after he gets like beautiful Zhaan.
But beautiful Zhaan, I have chosen to do yours first.
Gets first go at the map.
He's really smarmy.
Yes, and like we see this beautiful special effect of which first looks like a sun rising up out of a pedestal, which then...
A pedestal with petals unfolding, and then it
blossoms out into a galactic arm.
Gorgeous galaxy.
A galaxy. And there's a little glowy thing which Zhaan taps, and it zooms in, and it becomes her home star system, which she clearly recognizes. Like, oh, it's the...
And she cups it with her hands.
It's our little blue marble.
That's my home.
And she's like delighted to see it, and
it's such a beautiful moment. That
right.
Actually, I said earlier they're not using a lot of CGI. This was really well used.
There's a few moments like this where they do that, and that's
I
pretty
noticed
much
that it
how
had
it
two
goes.
moons that were flying past her face.
And I also noticed that Zhaan seemed to look a little bit different here. I don't know. Maybe just a little I mean, maybe there were more close-ups, but I noticed the feathered
eyelashes.
Eyelashes, yes, that's the one.
Well, I see what you mean. I think it's a function like she's never been lit blue before, I don't think. So you've got these green highlights coming out as well. And overall, just the lighting is harsher, and the shadows are a lot darker than we're used to seeing.
So at this point, I'm going like Crichton. I'll just say John.
You finally got it, and now you're already giving up. Okay, so it's no fun when you get it right. I'm sorry for spoiling that for you.
So he looks at this, and clearly he doesn't recognize it, because I think, he's like this big astroscientist.
Yes.
If this is our Earth galaxy, he should immediately be able to recognize this. He should that's the Milky Way.
Yeah.
If it's Andromeda, or if it's any of the Magellan Cloud, if it's any of the other big ones, he should be able to. He should be able to notice this, and he'd be okay. Oh wait, yeah, this is the Milky Way. Tell me, where are we? Good, we're here. Oh, great, Earth is over here, because I know where Earth is in our own Milky Way.
Yes. How did Douglas Adams describe it in a not very popular corner of the Sagittarius arm? Was it?
I think it is. Yes.
But do we actually really know what our galaxy looks like? As in, I know the pictures, I've seen the images. Are we very confident that is in fact what it looks like?
That is a good question. I would think so, but I don't know that for certain. But
I mean, obviously I have great faith in our scientists, but it could be a situation where this is the information that we have, the best guess. But if any of these assumptions are wrong, like if, I don't know, white dwarfs have a different mass than we think or whatever, then that could mean it has an extra spiral arm or the lump is different.
Well, I would assume that this is based on observation and mapping of stars and saying okay, these stars are more or less at this distance, therefore they must be in our galaxy, and then just basically do a rough 3D map of those, and you'd get a pretty good idea of at least of all the visible stars.
Yeah, and you can make a decent guess from parallax, where they are. But
exactly.
That gets you a certain number of stars, and then after that, how do we know how long the gap is between the galactic arms? You can't see the absence of stars.
Well, no, but you know that we have 100 stars which are up to 20,000 light years, 10,000 light years. And then there's a region where no stars give us a reading in that range.
Okay, yeah, fair.
So suggesting that there must be a dark gap in that area.
All right. Yeah, well, in that case, Crichton's really a bit of a dum-dum, because he should recognize... there's one more possibility, that this representation of the galaxy just doesn't look like how we'd represent the galaxy. Maybe they have different priorities. Maybe they're, for example, able to detect dark matter, and it shows up on their maps and not ours.
Be. And therefore it looks entirely different. But that's what I was wondering about. Also, I think, that's after the intro break.
We haven't even gotten to the credits, and it's only one scene. Oh my God.
We're discussing a lot of big concepts which are going to be playing through the rest of the show here.
Yeah, but Kay, this is exactly what I'm into in watching this show with you. Now, you said that NamTar, he's putting the moves on Zhaan a little bit.
He's being charming, yes.
Not nearly as smarmy and suck-uppy as Rygel.
Yes, it certainly is an honour to meet such a learned scientist as yourself and to take part in his grand experiments.
Who, while he's cupping his eye, putting a little eye cup over his eyes, because he's already had the injection.
Yeah. Oh, I was wondering if that was a thing, because we saw.
He's impersonating a pirate.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's hello, yes, Mr. NamTar. Oh no, you're so handsome, Mr. NamTar.
Ah, yes. So at this point, I was already starting to wonder a little bit if they were being manipulated or something in some sort of way.
So sinister, right?
On the other hand, it is a little creepy.
I know,
the dark shadows and the concrete.
But it kept coming up through the episode, and it turns out it wasn't, which kind of surprised me a little bit. But okay, so back to the greenish asteroid type thing.
Yes.
And Moya floating in front of it, and we are in the bar, which is apparently the front portal of NamTar's operation.
Yeah, what a weird kind of is it big? Is NamTar operating just a small medical parlor?
There's lots of people running about, including one of the NamTar's assistant, who's not half as pretty as NamTar is.
Oh hell, that's ugly.
No.
Well, she has this weird thing around her head, like which almost looks like it's binding her head and trying to prevent it from growing any larger.
It's sort of keeping her brain in.
She looks
She's very
peculiar.
asymmetrical as well. She's got one huge hand. But she sort of fits in with everybody else. Like this is another example of lots of drapery and rough textures, sort of like the Warhammer Space Orc cosplayers, the Tavlex. Except this reminded me more. I mean, it's sort of a nice dive bar. Like, yeah, it's dark, but it's got candles and chandeliers and all these. It sort of reminded me of, I guess, Burning Man.
Oh, I've never been to Burning Man, and neither of you, as far as I know.
No, but I know pictures from Burning Man, and oh, come on, Kay, how can you shame me in front of new podcast listeners? They thought that I was going to pretend to be the cool one who's been to Burning Man, but now you've already undermined that, and I'm going to be honest.
Okay, so
it's what I imagine Burning Man to be like.
Okay,
like those the amateur slapdash.
With not quite so many aliens, but here in the bar, then I don't know about Burning Man. It's like...
Who's to say?
So, yeah, we have Aeryn and Crichton having a little moment where Crichton lets us know that apparently his DNA wasn't in the database. So, 11 million
bummed out.
11 million entries, but the human ain't one. And
he's he's in his cups already.
Yeah.
And Aeryn sort of remarks when she sees him carrying over whatever it is, the space beer.
Don't you want to analyse it before?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, apparently
You're
he's
normally so cautious.
Rather careful about what he drinks and not. But
he's attentive, but not this time.
He's definitely trying to drink away some sorrows, and she's like equally uninterested in like participating in this whole DNA scanning because she knows where she's from.
You and the others are trying to get home avoiding peacekeeper territories. My home is peacekeeper territories. It's just that I can't ever go back there.
Yeah, she just can't go back.
Yeah,
ever.
And it's even more than that. Like, it's not just envy, but she sees she's going to be alone on Moya pretty soon.
I was born a peacekeeper soldier. I've always been one among many. Member of a division, a platoon, a unit, a team. I've never been on my own, John. Never been alone.
Like, if everybody else gets to go home, and eventually Crichton's going to go home, and he says, oh, well, you can come back with me, honey.
And then she goes like, what? Me on a planet with 6 billion U's? It's just like, oof.
Harsh burn.
Yes.
Not inspiring any happy joy feelings in Crichton, who is wearing a grey shirt now.
Oh, yes.
Have we been noticing the pattern of white shirt, black shirt, and now grey shirt? So he's right in the middle.
He's a bit of an emotional drunk,
isn't he?
Yeah,
but he's not the only one who is behaving a little unusually, because I mean we forgot to mention the cliffhanger on which the opening scene ends. NamTar delivers his price,
and now my price.
Yes, I believe I told you when I first contacted you that our resources are somewhat
which is one of Pilot's arms.
Yes.
So what did you think when you heard that? Because then it fades to black and like nobody says anything. You go to the credits.
I was expecting a deliberation, maybe a bit of a heist scene, or at least some negotiation.
Yeah, but, or we're going to fool him, or we're going to like, how do we make a replica? Nope.
No.
Nope.
Into the den. Pilot screaming.
What do you think you're doing?
Please, I implore you, just listen.
To what? How dare you?
NamTar has offered us something that we cannot obtain anywhere else.
Think about somebody else for a change.
And this is especially where I thought everybody was behaving so uncharacteristically, especially Zhaan.
Yeah, right.
I mean, everybody was like, oh, Pilot, we're willing to make the sacrifice by taking your arm. And yeah, they basically...
Rygel says, think about someone else for a change.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. But Zhaan was also very much like... She had this like wild look in her eyes, and like
she was feral.
Yeah, and she was like very much like not the Zhaan that we're used to.
Well, I guess she wasn't kidding when she said during at the end of last week's episode where she had to fight Maldus and release her rage, that she wasn't sure whether she could put it back in again.
Yeah.
Maybe she like this is
Clearly
already
not,
showing
she
up.
She was like she's going all anarchy and being selfish in a way that we're not used to seeing from Zhaan.
Yeah.
And yes, Pilot gets his arm ripped. Well, I think Dargo uses his sword for that.
His keyblade, his Qualta blade.
For the first time that he actually uses it in earnest.
My Qualta blade.
rather than just posing with it or shooting with it. Like,
has he really never yet?
I think he bashed someone with it, but he's never actually cut anything with it.
Yeah,
so,
he delivers a good clean cut this time. Oh, and Zhaan helps to take his pain, as she did for Moyans. She does the Delvian eye roll.
Yes.
Did you notice?
Yeah, I did. And that was a little bit odd. But I guess it's time for Willy or Woody already, because this definitely gave me the willies.
Right.
This scene.
Woof. Because poor pilot.
Yeah.
He can't defend himself.
Clearly not, no. And they just leave him and basically
bring his arm back to NamTar, and there it is.
We have upheld our end of the bargain, NamTar. Yes, you have. Splendidly.
In all of its glory, arm laying there in the display cabinet, and NamTar seems to be quite pleased with this. And after they leave, the assistant comes back in, and they have a little discussion. It's like, oh, I hope this one's better or something like that.
Yes, and then he walks into his chamber of horrors because it's a spoopy show.
That sick hammer horse son of a bitch.
And there is this weird hybrid creature which looks like a patch together of various
two faces,
body parts,
chained up.
You multi-throated moron.
And we never see it again in the rest of the episode. We have no idea what it was doing, what the purpose was. It was just there, and it was just a little freak shot. And
hold on, I mean, no, but look at it. It looks like a failed pilot mutant.
A little bit, yeah.
You see the beak and the eyes and the
I get it.
It's sort of overgrown. So he's clearly done experiments with pilot DNA before.
Yeah.
But on something else, and it didn't go right, and it grew two faces.
And maybe he just needed a little bit more than that. And
maybe.
That's why he wanted the whole arm, because just a regular helix wasn't enough.
If I were working merely at the double helix level, yes.
So now we get another shot of the asteroid, and now you can see the bones. There's a jawbone embedded that's bigger than Moya.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Yes.
Yeah, and that's sort of what there's like a whole city. It looks like
I noticed.
Built around it.
There's it's like a claw or a jaw. It's very hard to tell, but it's like
I want to say that it's a jawbone because you can see the teeth and they're pointing back. Predator teeth are pointed inward.
I get that, but it could also be like a crab claw, which has like those little pointy bits. Yeah. It's probably meant to look just freaky, basically.
But this is a giant creature.
I completely missed that during the episode. I did not see that.
It's just everything's there as this just beautifully sinister set dressing because it's this is a horror episode.
Yes.
We haven't had those before. We've had hippie and adventure and E.T. and now we're doing horror because Farscape can just do whatever it wants.
Yeah, yes, why not? We can experiment. We can have all these kinds of things. We have no specific format. We don't have
nobody has expectations.
We don't have a federation to save. We don't have
Oh, that's a really good point. We don't have an established value system that we're expressing in our stories.
Which was quite clear here that because especially how everybody was behaving. Well, everybody, Zhaan, Rygel, and
the terrible trio of this episode.
And John walks in to talk to Pilot.
Who's getting his wound tended to by a DRD who's laser suturing.
Little Scuttlebot is doing
stump.
It's fine, you're good. It's like, I'm ready. It's like, and the thing keeps going. It's like, no, go away.
I said, you are finished.
He has a bit of a moment with Pilot where John asks him, is he okay? And Pilot starts describing about his life and how he comes into this situation.
Yeah.
And that, apparently his species is incapable of spaceflight on their own, and the only way they can see the galaxy is by becoming bonding to
with a Leviathan
and becoming a pilot.
When one of my species is bonded to a Leviathan, we give our lives to the service of others. Ship first, then those who travel aboard her.
No matter what those aboard do to you.
Yeah.
No matter how they treat you, apparently.
Yeah.
And John rightly asks, aren't you angry?
Insanely angry.
And no, he's not.
Well, you say no, but he is very snippy later on in the episode, so he's clearly got some hard feelings. He might not be angry, but
he's true.
He is not okay.
No, exactly. I like this moment of bonding.
Yes.
And even more so when Pilot speaks to Aeryn, with whom he's gotten on a lot better. I've noticed in general.
Thank you for your help, Officer Sun.
We work together well, Pilot.
I mean, it's the hierarchical structure that we spoke about. Like, they both know their place and they fit and they work together because we're both working towards the good of the ship.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I guess Aeryn just really likes that she feels in a command structure with a fellow professional.
Exactly.
But she is very disappointed in the rest of her crew and confronts them in the hallway for what they've just done.
Yes.
Much as we said, like, Pilot is defenseless. Dargo remarks, "Oh, compassion?
From a peacekeeper."
Yes.
And she immediately sort of snaps back, "No, for a comrade."
Yes.
He was defenseless. Would you have done that to me? And I like that Dargo is completely honest.
And he goes like, "Yes, I would have."
Of course.
Like, he even says, like, Pilot will get over it. He's a servicer.
Pilot is a servicer.
Yeah, which seems like awfully dismissive and like awfully taking him for granted. Like, oh yeah, that's his job. You know, it's like if we need something from him, we take it from him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not how
everyone was so. Or the terrible trio were so ugly.
Yeah, very much so.
That's
what. And I kept wondering: is NamTar like doing some sort of weird mind control? Did he inject them with something? Because like they kept acting so much like they're not themselves.
Well, I guess we don't know them very well.
I guess not.
I think what the show's trying to say.
For Rygel, yeah, sure. You know, Rygel has always been a selfish little prick.
Insolent. Selfish.
Competitive.
Obsessive.
Obnoxious. Unbearable.
And although apparently he doesn't have one.
Yeah. That's going to come up. Or it isn't, in fact. That's actually true. Rygel is still Rygel. It's Zhaan and Dargo that are so weird. Zhaan has this... she has the, I guess, excuse that her evil or her savagery has been reactivated. But I think in general, none of them have been confronted with something they want before.
Yes, or at least want so badly that they're willing to put principles aside.
Well, and all those principles are kind of flexible. None of them like each other. They didn't choose each other.
No, true.
They sort of tolerate each other very well by last episode, but this just kind of goes to show that's really superficial.
Because very soon very soon we get infighting. Like they're starting to argue about where to go first.
Yes. Because while they're waiting for NamTar's cartographs to be loaded and delivered. Yeah, someone's going to get home first, and who's it going to be? And they start scheming against each other, and it went like the conspiracies and mutual betrayals.
Basically everybody tries to like make an alliance with the other two against the third.
Survivor Island with just 3 people on it, and all of them wanting to leave the island. Or I don't know how Survivor works. I think getting off the island is bad.
No, you have to. Yeah, you want to vote. You want to vote people
Something
off,
like
and
that.
you don't want to get voted off. So basically, this is to me the obvious thing would be like, okay, everybody's going to get home in the least time if we just like say who's closest, and then we just like go work them off in sequence. Which I think is someone suggests that at one point, which is met with grudging agreement. I mean, like
because like for some of them, going home is not so simple. It doesn't mean just like going to the nearest outpost and grabbing a Greyhound or an Uber. Because
I mean, they're going to take Moya, obviously, but.
Yes, but that's kind of the thing. When they get to their planet, they're still going to need Moya for a while because, Rygel was deposed by his cousin Bishan.
Yeah.
My cousin Bishan stole my throne from me while I slept. A mistake I will soon be correcting.
Cousin Bishi?
Who rules his empire. And Zhaan and Dargo were arrested and imprisoned by their own people.
My leaders imprisoned me. Not my people.
And he's confident that if he gets home, he will be able to be accepted by his people.
That's right. In fact, when it's his turn to try and make an alliance with Rygel, who has by that time stolen the crystal that's been delivered.
Right. He promises Luxon warriors to help him with disposing his nephew.
His disposing his nephew. Yes, that's right. So I guess he thinks that he can just arrive there and drum up a full contingent of Luxon warriors.
Yeah.
Will just follow him, I guess.
Yes, which is, I mean, we still don't know what he's done that he was imprisoned for. And apparently it's not what he's told everybody that he's done, which we also don't know. But
no, he did say he killed a superior officer. That came up in his first conversation, but never after that.
No.
So everybody's kind of down in the dumps, and none more so than John and Aeryn, who like John has apparently brought his booze home with him.
Yep.
Sitting in the kitchen galley. What do we call it?
Yeah, something like that. The food area, the kitchen. I mean, they got
what do you call it on a boat?
Huh?
What do you call it on a boat? The
galley
place with it. Yeah, it is the galley, isn't it? Well, let's call it the galley. It sort of has a nautical feel. It's got a nice big window.
It's got like lots of bottles standing above the bar.
I like to think that those are that's like the spice rack or something.
Who knows?
You know, they must fall down all the time.
Yes.
I think that often in shows where, on the one hand, like every episode, like the bridge gets shook and everybody gets knocked on their behinds.
Yeah.
But then they also have like model ships on their shelves, and you know,
maybe they have their own special
yes,
kinetic dampening, inertial dampeners.
Yeah. You know, why wouldn't you put those on the chairs on the bridge so they don't fall out?
And then, of course, we have Captain Adama's beautiful ship, which gets destroyed in a fit of rage by himself. Yeah.
He just builds it to smash it. It's his like really high stakes stress ball that he has to decide when is he going to use his stress ball, because it's going to take another 6 months before he
gets it back to the state where he can like smash it again.
John is wallowing in his misery. He's boozing it up. Misery loves company. Did you see the move where he sort of sits down and invites Aeryn to talk, and Aeryn like takes the bottle from him, which kind of like, you cool it, but she does go and get herself a glass, and she does
she goes
pour
and join
herself one.
him. Yeah. The crystal arrives, and they try to download it into Moya, and it turns out that it's not working.
What do you mean Moya isn't assimilating the data? Is that her doing or yours?
I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's too
big. There's too much data. Moya can't absorb it all.
There is a great deal of data, but Moya will just have to...
Moya can do nothing about it.
And this is where Pilot gets extremely flippant.
It appears your crystal is useless. Lucky for you, you didn't trade anything of real value to get it.
Maybe you'd have a limb you'd like to sacrifice, and
yeah, I like that he bites back, because woof.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. But yes, it turns out that they can only extract the data from one of the locations, and lose
somehow
the other.
Will destroy
lose the other two in the process. Yeah,
and they're not willing to go back and ask for more from NamTar.
And that's how it happened, because like he's like, he'll demand more limbs or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
And I go like, no, you promised us 3 locations. Like, in fact, you delivered them in a method that we can't handle. Like, we'd like 2 more crystals, please.
If he should ask for it, what body part are you willing to offer? Your Eminence?
Yeah, because at this point, like, they're pretty clear NamTar is no bueno.
Right, but they don't... There's nothing to establish that. Like, NamTar's been more or less upfront with them. He's, like, ostensibly delivered what he promised. So you'd think that you can go back and say, like, oi, can you, like, split this up because it's too big for us to handle? But, you know...
Yeah, he's a canny negotiator, which they probably realize. I like that. I mean, did you know right from the start that NamTar was going to be a baddie? Because he was sort of coded as a baddie. You know, he was.
Well, yeah.
He looked threatening. He had a menacing aura. He was menacing music.
Well, like I said, I was suspecting that he had been doing tomfoolery with messing with their heads in some sort of way. So I kind of, so it kind of to me felt that like things were going to go off with him, especially when it looks like, he was like working with weird genetic, especially that thing that he had chained against his wall. That seemed to me like, okay, he's like definitely not right. And like you said, he was coded negatively.
Yes,
especially
exactly.
in the way that he was treating his assistant.
Kornata, isn't it?
Kornata, whom she kind of looks like a melted cornetto.
Kornata, I thought it was. But yes, she does look a bit odd.
We had a little chat between Rygel and Dargo, where Rygel is clearing out his room and throwing out a bunch of trash, including a box of food cubes. Where Dargo asks, "So you had this when we didn't have food for 2 weekends?"
Something like that.
I don't think they say that one very often.
If you like them, they're yours.
And at this point, Aeryn goes back down to the asteroid, but I can't remember why. What made her decide to do that?
Well, so realizing that she's not going to fit in on Earp either, and she has nowhere else to go, she knows that there are other Sebacean colonies beyond Peacekeeper territories.
Yes.
And she wants to know where they are. She wants just anywhere where she can fit in.
Yep.
And like that's something that NamTar is sensitive to, and that's something that I hadn't really like realized about her before. The way she expresses it to John, I've always been part of a structure. There's that hierarchy that we were talking about earlier. Part of a unit, part of a regiment, part of a ship.
And now for the first time, I'm on my own.
Never been alone before, and she doesn't want that. So she'll be with whoever.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Other Sebastians.
Is better than being alone.
Yeah.
And so, she wants the same deal.
She gets the eye stabby, but
it's a little bit different.
Yeah, because this time there's like a little bit of purple injected into her eye, a little purple cloud that you can see drifting through it.
Yeah, that was curious.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I knew that this was coming because I've seen it before, so I could actually be looking for it. But there was an argument between NamTar and Kornata before that, where like he was experimenting with Pilot's arm, and it wasn't working, and he was very angry. And there was a moment where Kornata, she's covering her head with her hands, one of the giant hands, and goes, "NamTar, your anger," as if it was hurting her. I don't think it was the sound. Is she maybe like a little psychic, or is he psychic?
Yeah. Well, we did see him smash the glassware in anger already.
Yes,
where you saw him lashing out with his arm, and then suddenly the table gets swept clear of the glassware. So we know he had some sort of telekinetic ability at that point.
Also, possibly because the prosthetic hands were maybe not pretty unwieldy, and the performer was advised maybe try not hitting the very expensive set with your clumsy.
Yes,
I noticed some things about this costume that, like, okay, so he's got rue boots, but his ankle is downturned, so you don't, like, when you wear rue boots, it's usually a platform that you stand on.
Yes, in this case, he had like the ankle was a joint,
the on point position. So he's standing there like a ballet artist.
Yes,
all the time. It does not have a fly, those pants.
Ah, no. No, he did have some sort of crotch rocket attachment piece right there.
Yes. I remember reading that Virginia Hay went up to the costume designer at one point and sort of whispered, maybe give him a little escape hatch.
Yes.
Because, like, he couldn't go to the bathroom without, like, taking all of that off. And that was a multi-hour operation.
Wow.
It was the middle of Australian summer.
So
they were still doing...
drinking,
which he couldn't do. Also, like, he was in that animatronic head, so he had, like, machinery whirring around his face.
That must have been...
It
was all indoors, so I assume they had airco.
Yeah, they turned it off while they were recording in order to get good sound.
Right, yes.
And it really sucked.
Ouch, yeah.
So, fantastic performance. And also, like, he wasn't doing the voice. Somebody else was doing the voice
that was obvious,
and the animatronics. And then he had to make sure that his body movements matched up with facial expressions that he couldn't see himself make, and a voice that he could probably barely hear over the whirring. God, do you know that... Is it becoming clear how much I love NamTar and how exemplary I think he is for this show? Because he's this kink wizard, and what a production!
He was a much more interesting bad guy for the episode than
Maldis, right?
Was. Yes,
with his, I mean, that actor had a lot of fun.
Oh no, I mean, he was well acted, but the character was much less. Maldis as a character was much less interesting than NamTar was.
Yes, now, I think, and I okay. Let's go into why do we think that is? Because we mentioned that Maldis wasn't very threatening, even though he had all this power.
Yeah.
We never, like, he didn't really do much to...
No, it was just like goading people on and like standing there laughing manically and...
speechifying at them.
Right, yeah.
Versus NamTar has something that people want. And he shows that insight. He understands what they want and exploits it. And that, I think, gives him some power.
Yes, and also his purposes are... I don't know. I mean, Maldis was just kind of like evil for evil's sake. Because,
megalomaniac.
But also actually he was just feeding on it. And NamTar has a plan, I suppose. Actually, he also...
Yeah.
His purpose is also to get more powerful and perfection, which is
as we discover. But it and that's driven from vanity.
I suppose so, yeah. Whereas Maldis was just like, basically, it was like any vampire. He's just like trying to live, and he does it in a rather unsavory way, especially because it involves like emotional torture, not just like eating people.
Yeah.
But NamTar seems a little bit more. I mean, he gets John compares him to Mengele, which is a very good, which is a very
apt comparison.
I can see where he's coming from.
I mean, he's profoundly unethical because he's like he seizes that opportunity immediately. He's just like smashed all the glassware. He's frustrated with this with the failure of this serum or whatever, and then in walks Aeryn. She wants the same deal, and he's holding the needle. Oh yeah. Yeah, and you actually see him like inject it into her eye, like opportunity knocks.
Yep. Aeryn goes back to Moya, and she's staggering around like she's drunk.
Yeah,
you get these,
things look kind of weird.
Yeah, you get these first-person views from Aeryn, where she's seeing double, and everything is just kind of like moving around a bit.
Crichton catches her before she falls.
Yep.
Proximity alert, as the fans call it. He sits unnecessarily close to her and chats with her, and then realizes, hey, you're sweating. That's not a thing that Sebaceans
tend to do.
do.
Yeah, that's not very good for you.
Now, that one I thought was interesting because it was mentioned that Sebaceans lack the gland that helps them regulate extreme heat. Okay, cool. But that's what sweating is for.
Yes.
So there's really not a lot of other reasons to sweat other than managing heat. So
no, I
do they
suppose
just?
I mean, she was already starting to change at this point, so that makes sense that something like that could happen.
Do you think Pilot sweats though?
He doesn't look the kind, but there might be other bits of DNA stuck in there as well.
Well, see, what I was thinking is they lack the gland. Did they used to have it?
Oh, right. It might just be like a vestigial.
Vestigial,
that's the one. Maybe they just have vestigial sweat glands.
Huh. That are reactivated by her. That's a great one. Yes, vestigial. Oh, I love that. Yeah, so we're just about approaching. Gosh, this is going to be an episode. The halfway mark of the show. Rygel has just absconded with the crystal. Back to his bedroom, which
prison cell quarters bedroom.
Yeah, they're still sleeping in their cells.
I mean, if those are the quarters, I mean, it seems to be fairly comfortable. They're big cells,
but they're cells. They're where they've been imprisoned. Like would you want to sleep in your prison cell, especially when it can still be locked from the outside?
Right. That's a bit weird. Yes.
Right.
Also, we see that, with all his talk about being a great warrior, Dargo is a bit of a rubbish fighter. Because, he tries to, knock Rygel out of his chair, and Rygel just taunts him about flying near the ceiling, and he's got nothing.
No.
It's like he can't, actually resorts to, well, as you just said, locking him in the cell.
Yeah, after Rygel taunts him, he's sort of floating around like the Hynerian Riddler.
Yeah,
you
can't find the crystal because I have it hidden in the room where even the scent hounds can't find it.
Oh, they're very good.
I have places in this cell that even the peacekeeper scent hounds couldn't detect.
I like that. I wonder. Okay, so scent hounds, we're clearly supposed to think they're like bloodhounds that they track scents. Maybe that's not it. Maybe there's just have a very nice sort of sandalwood gland, or that depending, you rub them behind the ear and then you get your it's kind of minty.
Nice, yes. Okay, that makes sense.
Right, that they can be your own sort of personal
room odorizer.
Yeah, depending on their mood and yours.
Yes, that sounds pleasant.
Aromatherapy puppies
better than wet dog smell.
Everything is someone's thing. Everyone, any scent or flavor, any food that there is somebody's favorite. And I'm kind of making it my mission not to yuck any yums, which was also sort of a lesson that I was learning from Farscape in my first rewatch, which is why initially I kind of resisted the idea of NamTar being evil. That was he was very clearly coded negatively, as you said. But hey, we've seen a lot of weird aliens, and we have to sort of come at it with more openness, because a lot of the times we're challenged in that way too.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him evil. I would call him highly unethical, but not necessarily evil.
He does harm. He does harmful experiments on people without their consent or even awareness for his own benefit.
I mean, okay, that counts as evil, I suppose.
Yeah, there's not a lot of definitions of evil that don't include that.
Yeah, very true.
Dargo traps Rygel in there, to which Rygel continues to cackle. They cackle at each other.
Taunts him a little bit with the lack of food that he now has, and he makes threats that he will let him starve in there.
And continuing the theme of people confronting the person who has what they want, Aeryn confronts NamTar in Space Burning Man.
What have you done to me? I've been getting these weird things. And he cackles a little bit like, oh, phase 1 is almost coming to an end.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise of phase 2 for you.
She's not into that. She grabs him by the arm, twists it behind his back. I mean, pretty strong.
Yep.
He looks like a big hunk of fella.
He smashes him into the bar, and then he goes into like, oh yes, harder, twist it more, because like he's turned his pain receptors into pleasure receptors.
Please, push harder.
Back on Moya, more conspiracies.
Yes, this time it's Dargo and Zhaan trying to like broker a deal.
Yes, because they have decided that Rygel is enemy.
Rygel has been a very useful ally in the past. But now he is enemy.
Agreed.
Which I thought was interesting grammar.
Yeah.
He's been a useful ally in the past, but now he is enemy.
We already knew that they don't like him, so it seems like an obvious alliance between those two.
Speaking of alliance, now we have the two people on the ship who seem to relate best to each other. Aeryn comes to pilot, complaining or like, I don't know exactly why.
Yeah, she's talking about all how she's noticing all the sounds and all the movements that
the DRDs
are happening in Moya.
But it's not just the DRDs, it's the ship's power generator, the hydraulic fluids. You hear all that? Not so much hear it as sense it. But how?
We see as Crichton comes into the pilot's area as well, that Aeryn is slowly starting to mutate. I mean, she's got weird patches of skin growing.
Yeah, she's got the sort of chitinous carapace growing on her hand. She's got chicken wings growing out of her abdomen.
I thought it was actually probably looks more like a fourth arm, a third and a fourth arm that are growing out there. Like, Pilot has 4 arms.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was my first thought. Like, oh, look, like they're regrowing Pilot's arm there on her on the side of her chest.
She's got, and there's some tubes hanging there as well. Like,
it looked a bit weird.
There's a lot of creepy stuff going on there.
Yeah.
And she is scared.
Yes.
Which she's not used to. Maybe
she
that's
has
also
no idea what's
something
going on. Yeah.
She got from Pilot.
I mean, they know that it's come from NamTar, but they have no idea what's happening.
Oh, yeah. Now it's kind of obvious why she would go to Pilot. She could just look at her hand and go, oh, that looks sort of pilot-y.
Next, we have Zhaan trying to broker a deal with Rygel and tempting him with little morsels of food cubes, which are really poorly named because they're not food cubes, they're food squares.
No, that has occurred to me as well. Like they're all... Okay, so maybe you can say, well, they start off as cubes and then you slice them before you eat them, but yeah...
Right. So you have the food cube slicer that you like run it through.
Haw lollies is what they are. The actual sort of prop, like the haw is I think a Chinese or a Southeast Asian fruit. And you can make these sort of kind
of like dried fruit,
fruit leather.
Yeah, fruit. Yeah, that's the one. Fruit by the fruit by the foot.
Yeah, okay. And she's seducing Rygel through.
Oh yes, she promises him a very pleasant trip if he agrees to go
to Delvia first.
Yes.
Yeah, and
this is where we learned that apparently they are called earbrows.
Yes, that's what they're called.
I know the Hynerian earbrow is very sensitive.
And she strokes them after tugging his moustache, and he has a little moment of like almost apologetic.
I'm not really a body breeder. I mean, well, I'm not made that way.
I'm just not built that way.
Exactly. So that's
almost
where
a little, I guess, genital envy.
I guess, but also like she promises him other forms of pleasure and companionship, I suppose. And that doesn't
is not so easily
doesn't
fooled,
go anywhere either. And she like walks off in a huff and goes like, "Well, you can starve in there. We'll let you go hungry." So they go back down to the bar to see what
John and Aeryn.
Yes, to confront NamTar with what he's done.
Yeah, she's having a real bad trip. This is where the sort of space burning man comes in. Like this was like someone who got some bad red rope licorice, and her best friend is like taking her back to the bar where the dealer was.
Yes.
Yeah, like Disney on acid.
And she can barely keep it together.
They confront NamTar. She actually shoots him.
She straight up shoots him,
we have
taking a huge chunk out of his midriff.
Yeah, and we have a bit of a Terminator 2 moment there when he just kind of looks down on it and without any apparent effort just regrows that part of his body after he comments, that's a powerful gun you have there. Also, his clothes also regrow, which is kind of like...
Yeah. That one I thought was weird because he's got all these like calipers and like this ribbing around him.
I guess it was easier in the special effects to do that than to...
I escaped somehow.
Yeah.
He force pushes John away.
Yes.
He force pulls and freezes Aeryn and summons her sort of like vampiric, come to me.
Oh, yes, he did, yes. Crichton gets smacked around by the force push and wakes up with Kornata tending to him. Cornetto? I'm pretty sure it says Kornata.
It's Kornata.
Kornata.
But I sort of made it because her head looks like a melted ice lolly.
Well, I mean, oof.
Held together. It's even got the chocolate chunks, which are like the leathers.
Yes, I see what you mean, but no.
No, you get to veto one of my nicknames every now and again. I'm sure I'll need it in return. So Kornata,
yeah, she tends to him, and they start
reveals the history of this place.
Yes, that she was the one who was running the research lab, and
the lead scientist, and all the other space burners were her employees.
Yeah, and that NamTar was one of her test subjects that she was working on, and that she was apparently genetically improving. And after a while, he started taking over. He started like doing more genetic improvements upon himself.
Yeah,
leading to this whole thing where he was like striving for perfection by combining traits from like I don't know
her genetic database, and then anyone else who travels there looking for data. Like he must be running this scam on everyone who comes there.
Yeah,
this is a scam, right?
Team Conspiracy has decided how they're going to approach things. They're going to like convince Rygel that they've seen sense and that they're going to acquiesce to his demands.
Yes,
Dargo and Zhaan go to his cell, try to apologize and convince him, and getting no response, they open his cell, walk in to wake him,
find that he's like stuffed his bed with a dummy
pillow under the blanket trick.
Yes.
God, he's already outside and he traps them in. Boom.
Apparently he had a way out of his cell because he wasn't like going to be trapped in there at all.
Yeah,
so
speaking of I escaped somehow.
Yes. It suggests that he already could do that when he was still imprisoned under the Peacekeepers.
Like he literally says so.
You really think that I could spend all those cycles locked in one of these cells and not have a secret means of sneaking in and out as I please?
Yeah.
That's the idea of a cell, generally.
Exactly. Yeah. If you were a prisoner for 100 cycles and you could do this, you wouldn't have been a prisoner for 100
Well, I mean, he might not have been able to get off Moya. You know, he might get out of his cell, but that doesn't mean he could get off Moya.
You've got 100 cycles.
Also, it's not really a prisoner ship, but it's actually a prison if they're just like, if he's been like on board there for 100 cycles.
Now, that is a good point.
And they're not like, I mean, I always got the impression that they were being transported.
It's a prison transport.
Right.
Yeah, because they even look at like the prisoner, like the manifest of the destination, they realize that they were being taken to a lifers colony.
Right.
We were scheduled for transfer to Terran Ra.
That is a lifers colony.
Yeah.
So this was not their final destination. No, but Dargo has been on the ship for 8 degrading cycles, he said.
Yeah.
At least, hey, they're all good now. At last, no, they're prisoners once again.
So we learned that from the assistant that the crystal is a trap. If they actually do manage to download the data, it will completely wipe out all the information that Moya has.
Yes, that's how he traps people. And,
he was never going to let them go, and apparently maybe he just wants Moya. Like a lot of people seem to want Moya. I mean, I guess a Leviathan is a very desirable ship to have.
Oh, a self-repairing, like fully obedient, intelligent craft that can be crewed by 4 people.
Yeah,
and
actually, maybe only by pilot.
Probably just pilot on his own. Like that's an incredibly valuable resource.
And of course the scuttlebolts. So yes, Crichton does a quick little sleight of hand. Well, he distracts Rygel, does a quick little twist around, slaps the crystal around, and it goes breaking on the floor in a very poor special effect. I noticed, like that was not a real crystal that they broke there. That was
he does the sort of Texas 2-step, reaching one way to because like. He's trying to take the crystal from Rygel,
who's trying to plant it onto Moya,
and Rygel is fighting back. Now he's a little like 2-foot high animatronic puppet with 6-inch arms, and he is fighting off a fully grown, muscular, red-blooded American. Like that is some interesting bit of a stretch of the imagination, but
right. I mean, like he was fighting off Dargo earlier.
He had a little throne sled,
yeah.
And now he's just biting. But yeah, the Texas 2-step reaches around behind him. There was a sort of janky, like slow motion.
Crystal shatters,
explodes into a shower of stars,
and
which
we get
then
a beautiful star field again once more, which then
falls away,
rains down to the ground, leaving everybody
like sand slipping through your fingers.
Yeah, leaving everybody kind of dumbstruck. Like there goes their chance, which wasn't actually a chance, but they didn't know that up until that point.
Meanwhile, Kornata has been on the ship working with pilots on a plan that we haven't really been let into, and they're working together very well. She's asking,
they've broken out Zhaan's chemistry set, and
and checking all this, and she gives 18 orders, and pilot goes, yep, I'm on all of those immediately.
I need a tighter scan of each of the last 3 inert mixtures, also the expanded graph matches, the latest spectral analysis, and all final recounts of Simcoe batch data.
Working on them all.
Working on some sort of concoction that she's brewing up.
So, did you notice the examples of multitasking? Because, she gives him 18 things to do, and he says, yes, I'm doing all of them.
Yeah.
And Aeryn also said, while she was coming down with her transformation,
right, that she was
all of her thoughts were happening at once.
And the discussion with NamTar was that he was looking forward to experiencing that himself. That he was apparently he's been building some sort of serum which is going to give him this kind of power from Pilot. And he's mainly been testing it on Aeryn to see if it works. Apparently the previous test didn't work either, and now he has this new one. And
sort of like using her as a vaccine cow,
right? Or at least a guinea pig to see whether or not it works.
Well, specifically, she has the insight while she's... Okay, so she's been taken prisoner by NamTar, and now she's hidden behind this red velvet curtain of mysteries.
And you can only see a pilot arm claw coming out there.
And she says, you're going to take what you need from me and then discard me. And he's very honest about it.
Right, yes. So you're thinking that he was going to, he had it cultivate in her, and then he's going to take it from her and then inject it into himself. Right, that makes sense.
With the idea being maybe that Pilot is too alien for a DNA graft to work, but if it goes via another species...
Yeah, so we get a little diluted version, and we're looking for, and then now we can extract it from her. That makes sense, yeah.
Because he wants that mental multitasking capability, which must be how Pilot's capable of running that ship, just having all of those processes that he's thinking about all the time.
Yeah, doing all those things. So, Crichton shows up back on the planetoid.
Yes, on the asteroid, the parlor scene confronting him.
Yeah, together with Kornata.
No, you vetoed it, it's fine.
Kornata, yes. And a little bit of blustering, a little bit of talk.
Strategic speechifying. I mean, you call it a little bit of talk, but Crichton was keeping him talking and getting him to speechify, and speechifying in return.
Yeah.
Talking about Mengele, and Mengele sounds brilliant.
Right.
This Mengele sounds like a visionary.
Giving Kornata the time to build the concoction and
finish the chemistry, put it in the injector, and stab NamTar with it.
And then we get another Raiders of the Lost Ark
moment. Yeah, you see all the various features melting off him. You see him ballooning out, melting down.
What a wild.
And what we have over at the end is basically a shaved Salacious Crumb. I mean, come on. He just looks like...
No, you're right. Salacious Crumb. The cackling right-hand man of Jabba the Hutt in Star Wars Return of the Jedi. I've always got to give context for our readers at home, our listeners.
Who gets picked up by the scruff and dumped in the cage.
I had a note that he was like a Siamese Scrat from Ice Age.
Fair. I can go with that.
Now, I did notice one thing in the speechifying on NamTar's part, that he was going to be the most perfect, or the nearest to perfection, of any corporeal being.
Right, yes.
Specifically mentioning that, we haven't seen the option of a non-corporeal... I say that out loud. We've seen Maldis last time.
Right, yeah.
A cruel and malevolent being who's learned how to transcend corporeal form.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay. So,
no, good point.
Maybe not so so meaningful.
No, you have a good point, though.
And out comes Aeryn, the lobster woman.
Right, yes. Still definitely getting pilified. Like her head is is changing a little bit. And he has the serum ready to inject her with it, and going, no, with her it has to be in the eye. So we get one more shot where needles going into eyes, because we hadn't seen that enough yet this episode.
this was the first time that Aeryn's mother went to visit her on set and see what while she was
in
made
makeup
up
like this.
Oh
dear. Yeah.
She couldn't handle it and she stayed behind the curtain and she went home without the poor woman. It's like, oh, my daughter's in an American television program. She must have been so proud.
And like, I wonder if she thought that she always looks like that. If that's like that's what her character looked like.
Imagine if she thought that I just never watched the program ever.
Yes, and another food cube scene, although he tries to make it into a smiley face, which Aeryn does not get.
It's a happy face.
They're food cubes.
No, see the pattern? It forms a... Never mind.
Goes straight over her head. Yeah.
And finally, like, the blue light is gone. We're treated to another shot of Moya going across the galaxy.
We finally have
a stock shot.
Yes,
there.
True. This is one you have seen before.
But it's all back to like warm lights and ochre. Can you tell I'm a photographer and I like notice the lighting and how glorious that is?
And Dargo wandering back into the pilot's chamber and asking the pilot if he's okay. And they have a little. Well, I won't say they have a moment, but they have a little talk.
Yeah, he specifically asked, do you understand why I did what I did?
Right.
And that if I had to do it again,
I would, yes.
Like that honesty, I actually kind of respected that because, I mean, it sucks. It really does suck what he did, but it would be worse if he was dishonest about it.
Yeah, and Pilot actually says, like, I understand, I know that Luxons aren't really into apologies. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not going to expect that to come from him, but he draws out a thing that he's been working on.
Yes, now we have seen that for a few episodes. When Matala, the Ilanic, or the supposed Ilanic, came on board and dragged him around by his Mivonks. She saw that he was working on something on one of the workbenches in the maintenance bay.
Could it be a Shilquin?
Oh, okay. And that was
she called it a Shilquin. Oh, okay. I haven't seen one in a while.
Right. And it turns out to be some sort of instrument. It looks like a bit like someone stuck a viola on a big pogo stick or something like that.
Yeah.
And he sits down and he starts playing it for Pilot, I suppose.
So beautiful. The sound is great. It was like, I mean, it's got these strings that he's plucking, but it also sounded like it had like bagpipes or like a theremin, like a theremin isn't. No, that's nothing.
But yeah, like a bit of a change actually from the little down the
melancholy
endings of episodes.
That's a good observation.
This was a little bit more uplifting, I thought. But then again, after an episode which was so miserable in general, like misery. No, not miserable in a finding it was a miserable episode.
Spooky. It was horror. Yeah. It was terror and confronting awful parts of themselves that they're probably a little bit ashamed of. So yeah, as a palate cleanser, and what a gorgeous view we get of Pilot's den, which. Yeah. I mean, staying with the Space Burning Man theme, this is kind of the come-down tent now.
Ah, yes. It's where everybody comes and hangs out and just sits there and chills a little bit with the...
listening to some Shilquin.
Quiet music playing and dimmed lights and like...
So a very different episode than we've had before.
Very much so, yeah.
And this is what I love about Farscape. Like, this is what I remember about the first season, that every episode was its own genre. And now we're doing Western. And now we're doing a melodrama. And now horror. Like, it was a bit of go anywhere.
There was a little bit of body horror going on there, yes.
So our game of Willy or Woody is pretty easy to play.
I've already made my statement. Like, the Willies was definitely how they were treating each other. That was so different from normal. There's like any semblance of being working together to become a crew.
Or they were all manipulated. Well, the Terrible Three. It's really just them. Everybody else was cool and
doing their best. Yeah.
Although I wonder, like, none of the rest were tempted in the same way.
No.
Would they have responded differently? Like, if John had found Earth and found that it was nearby, would he have helped to cut Pilot's arm off? No, he wouldn't, would he?
They all act like the other people owe them something. And it's like... apparently they expect all the others to not only take them back to their planet, but then also help them or achieve something. And I'm just saying, like, sure, we'll go to your planet first, we'll drop you off, and we'll go to that planet next, we'll drop them off, and at the end it's going to be me and Moya and Pilot. Thank you, bye. You know, that seems like a good deal.
Yeah. Unless any of those planets are in Peacekeeper territory and there's a significant chance of getting caught.
Well, there was the whole point of the map was to get home and avoid Peacekeeper territory.
Right, yeah. Wow, I wonder how navigation works. If apparently territories aren't just huge swaths of do not enter space, hey, maybe it is a case that you can have lots and lots of overlapping empires because everybody owns a few stars, and you can. I mean, if you travel interstellar differences, then you could just have interlocking empires, and it's just which stars you own and which lanes are yours. I have no idea.
I mean, it's never mentioned, and apparently doing Moya Starburst is quite a unique ability to Leviathans.
Yeah.
So that whole jumping thing doesn't seem to happen for other people.
Yes, that's also a very good point. Gosh, we have a lot more to discover. Yeah, this has been an episode, and honestly, not even that much happened. Like it wasn't. The stakes weren't enormous. It was very interpersonal, but we got so many pairings of characters, so many personality traits that we were discovering and being really carefully examined. Like, fantastic job. It's almost kind of a shame that the writer only did the one episode, because I think Tom Blomquist. Blomquist, that's why you know it. There's a novelist called Blomquist.
I was going to say, this sounds like, I'm sure that I've heard the name before.
I mean, I think it's a Swedish or Norwegian name.
Yeah, could also be South African, but
is there a lot of Swedish and?
No, Blomquist. I don't know. It sounds like
Blomkamp. You're thinking of Neil Blomkamp, the
right?
filmmaker.
Yeah. Oh, that must be
Speaking of body horror, hey, that was the director of District 9, where someone also gets turned into, in that case, a prawn.
A weird alien, yeah. Not a pilot, but a prawn, yeah.
Okay, but we still have a Woody to give.
Oh.
Mine's kind of NamTar.
Oh. I mean, he did have the space nipple clamps.
Okay, that's not necessarily my thing.
Okay.
It's probably someone's thing. I don't yuck any yums. That's what you're into. But like as an alien, he was huge and he was menacing and he was charming, and just the sheer imagination of bringing a creature like that to life.
Yeah.
Wow.
It did require a lot of coordination between the body actor and the mask actors and everything, and it actually took a long time to see those bootlegs of his, because like the first few scenes you don't really see any of that, and it's only after a while when he starts walking around and you go like, oh wow, he's got like weird kangaroo legs.
Yeah, it must have been very tricky to film, because he is.
You can tell from the way he's walking around that it's like it's a bit of a
you can tell by the way I walk. Use my walk.
Wow,
I'm a giant roof.
Those are Australians, aren't they?
The Bee Gees?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I thought they were. Yeah.
Do you know that NamTar is backwards for Rat Man?
Well, I do now.
Isn't that fantastic?
I mean, he doesn't look very ratty. Like I said, like my first thought was Green Goblin, but Grey Goblin then.
Grey Goblin in this case.
Yeah.
Do you have a Woody that you want to give to anyone?
Well, no, I already gave a Willy, so.
We're going to have to work on our terminology. And that's the story so Farscape.
We'll see you next week with episode 110. They've got a secret where, while inspecting access shafts, Dargo is flushed into space. The DRDs turn on the crew and Moya cuts off life support while the crew attempt to find the cause from a revived but delusional Dargo.
Ooh. You can find us at SoFarscape on Twitter and Facebook and on SoFarscape.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.